Yo, welcome in, guys. We about to get started. We doing the live mock draft today. So just hang tight. Let me get everything situated. And we'll be on shortly. Yo, what up? Thank you for tuning in.
Motion left to right, there's nothing there. Now he tries to run, breaks a tackle, dives for the end zone, fumbled the football, left sideline, midfield, 40, 30, 20, 10, touchdown!
Yeah, here we go. Wait, take.
Throws back of the end zone. Now CD Lamb.
Unbelievable.
We're back. You're listening to Football is Money on footballismoney.com. Here's your host. They call me boss.
Set.
180,
180. 180. Set.
If the quarterback situation ain't right, then the whole offense is corrupt.
Set.
You can't sell me hope if you ain't got a quarterback.
Set.
180,
180. 180.
That fantasy pick might look good on paper, but what's his role?
Set.
You don't win your fantasy league on draft night. You win it with everything you do before and after.
Set.
This ain't just football talk. This is football value.
280. 180. 180.
This is football is money. Yo, what's up with it, my fantasy family? How we doing, man? How y'all feeling out there? Yes, sir. We try to get the blood, pumping, get the blood pumping before we get on here, man. We got a new setup, so it's gonna take a little getting used to. I'm trying to look at and monitor everything, make sure everything is uh functioning the way it's supposed to be functioning. But tonight, man, we're gonna do a mock draft. This whole episode we're gonna be doing a mock draft. We're gonna be talking about what the mock drafts are for. We're gonna talk about, what you want to look for within these certain rounds of a mock draft. So without further ado, man, I want to say welcome to Football is Money. I am your host, they call me Boss, and you are tuned in to one of the best fantasy and betting sports shows on YouTube, man. I appreciate y'all for being here. You could have been anywhere. You could have been watching anybody platform, but you chose to come here and hang out with Football is Money. And that does not go unnoticed. So appreciate you guys, man. So before we get started, man, let me tell y'all why we do these mock drafts. This ain't about just trying to build the perfect team. The players are going to change. The draft spot is going to change. Your league mates are going to draft differently from what you see in a mock draft. And, that's kind of the point. The point is to sharpen your decision making. Every mock draft teaches you something. It teaches you where, these players are going, who's falling, who's rising, and everything like that. It's going to show you where the value is. All right. And, that's why we're doing. Because you might think a player, is going to go in the top rounds, and then you do a few mock drafts and you realize that other managers are sleeping on them or they letting them pass, So that is valuable because you don't want to spend early draft picks on players that you can get in later rounds. You want to try to maximize every pick and get the best value for every pick. All right. So, draft day, it's not about having a perfect plan. It's about making the best decision every time you're on the clock, right? You don't want no panic picks, no accidental picks. So, it's mock drafts kind of get you familiar with whatever system you're using, whether you're using Sleeper, whatever, ESPN, Fantasy, countless other fantasy platforms. If you want to do mock drafts just so you can learn the system. So as we go through this draft, don't just watch who I pick. Pay attention to why I make the pick. That's why we're doing it, and that's what's gonna help you win your league. All right. So let's get things started. We got the draft board. Let me see. We're gonna join the league. I haven't joined the league yet. I didn't want to be rushed in doing that little spiel right there we did. So we're gonna join a 12-man league. And all of these spots are open. Let me put this up on the screen. So all these spots are open. So and like the first, second, and third pick, I like those picks. But the bad thing about it is if you up here, you gotta wait for it to come all the way back around, especially if you're doing a snake draft. My ideal spot is 10, 11, 12, because you kind of get close to the end. You can get you a double tap going. But the draft order is random, so you don't get to pick your draft spot. So, I like to pick the worst spot that I possibly could get because, that's normally where I land. I'm not going to get the top 3 pick, not going to get the bottom 3 pick, which are my 2 favorite slots. So, I'm pretty good at those positions. So I like to try to see where players are going, and I get like pick 7, pick 8. So I'm gonna join. I'm gonna go pick a. Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let me get this fixed up over here. Let me see what's happening. There's something going on with the server. See, that's one thing you can never account for when you're trying to do a live show. See, if I was doing like I normally do, cutting and editing, I'd just cut all this out. And but we can't do that. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna go number 8. And I'm doing this mock draft on Yahoo, even though I like Sleeper Fantasy a little better. I'm doing it on Yahoo because Yahoo still have live managers. Like app like Sleeper, they're gonna have you drafting with bots, and bots are gonna just take the next guy up with the highest ADP. Drafting with live managers is one of the ways you can get a better sense of where players are going. So now you see the timer up here. 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So we're just waiting for the time to go down, and so we can start the draft. So this is how a normal draft would go. Don't just pay attention to who I'm picking. We're going to pay attention to who everyone else is picking as well. And every draft, every league is different. You have different rules. You got different players set up. So Yahoo don't let you change that too much. So they kind of have you drafting on the default setting. So the good thing about Sleeper is if you get a lot of guys to go ahead and mock draft with you, which a lot of them are scared to because they feel like you trying to eyeball and trying to get their scheme or steal their players and everything. But if you can get a group of guys to do a mock draft on Sleeper, it's pretty good because then you can set the settings to your league settings and you can draft accordingly. So, but when you're doing it right here on Yahoo, everybody could be mock drafting for a different reason. It could be guys in here mock drafting for dynasty purposes. It could be guys in here mock drafting for double QB setups, double flex, 3 receivers. You just never know. But we're gonna just try to stick to the basic, keep it real basic on this draft. And we're just going to draft like we're drafting for a standard league, standard PPR league, where you got 15 roster slots and, 1 quarterback, defense kicker, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, tight end, and I believe 4 to 5 bench players. So that's what we're going to go with that. All right, so let me take me off. If I can find the camera. All right. And I'm going to make this a little bigger. So this is a live browser. So you guys excuse all the little ads that pop up at the bottom or whatever. This is Yahoo. And we wait until the timer go down and the actual draft begin. Right? So while we wait, I just want to shout out to everybody that's in here. Real, Mumsy, Hype B, Real Blight. Oh, y'all, man, I appreciate y'all for being here. Straight up. We did a test earlier, and this is just an extension of the test, This is my mock draft of live episodes. So this is my mock live. Yeah, we don't want to subscribe to nothing. right, so now we are in the draft room. And once you get in there, it's still gonna give you a little time to get set up. You know, some people like to go through and set their cues. That's how you set somebody on your queue. Just hit the star on them, and they'll show up in your queue over here. You can put as many players in your queue as you want to. That way, you're not always looking through all these players, right? But what I like to do, I just like to see who's going. They normally come out the gates pretty fast. So these are all the guys that are being taken immediately. So let me see who's left for me. We got JSN, CD Lamb, James Cook. Then you can go here and you can change what you want. So I'm looking for a power running back. I think these guys will be here in a minute. So I'm gonna go ahead and give me a receiver. Give me JSN. JSN, my number one pick. I could have got CD Lamb, but you know, I'm always getting CD, to tell you the truth, in these mock drafts. I got CD all the way in at the 10th pick one time, which is crazy. Which is crazy. Yeah. So let's see. Let's go back to the board and just continue to monitor what everyone's taking. So after me, James Cook, I was eyeing James Cook. Let's see. We got Jameer Gibbs. We got 4 or 5 running backs in the first round. 5 running backs. We got 5 receivers so far. No one has been thirsty and taking the quarterback yet. Normally, that's what you see a lot of that lately. And you know, just kind of happy that people not doing that. I think last year kind of everybody kind of learned the lesson. And that's what you're gonna deal with in the draft too. Guys not paying attention. So we got Justin Jefferson and Chase Brown. So first round goes to receivers and running backs. And one of the things that we are monitoring as well is we want to see what's going first, right? We got running backs and receivers going first, but we also want to monitor when the quarterbacks start coming off the board, when the tight ends start coming off the board. You know what I mean? And just kind of see how which way the trend is going these days, because you never know, man. You never know how it's gonna be. So round one, don't get cute. Don't try to pull a trick moving round one. You know, this is where you draft safety, volume, and weekly advantage. All right. Matter of fact, these first few rounds, that's what you're looking for. So now we just watch these guys draft. He thinking, I guess. So we still got receivers and running backs going. George Pickens in the second round. Hold on, let me go back and see. So CD 1-8, CD came right after JSN. No, two after JSN. Drake London. So right here, man, I'm still looking for me some running backs. I would like to start with a high power running back, but you know, the first few running backs coming off the board, they're gonna go early. And after that, you got a few mid, like late first, second round guys that you can pick up. So that's why I didn't force it and pick up a James Cook or something like that, Devon A. Chain right now. I'm gonna get AJ Brown. And you know, there was a rush pick. I'm not gonna even lie, man. Trying to talk and do this at the same time will get a little bit overwhelming. And that's, you know, when you drafting, man, you got to make sure that you are tuned in, because Small things like that can derail your whole draft. Luckily, we do a lot of these, and we don't have just one way where we draft. We can do multiple ways, right? You can start off with your receivers. You can start out with running backs. Just try to find value when you can get it. Yeah, appreciate you for your support, man. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all. Yes, sir. And so you just going through this. You're just gonna go through this and just kind of look. So my second pick, actually, it got auto drafted. I took Saquon Barkley, and I take that. I take Saquon. So I got a running back, got a receiver. Let's see what's going on. See, we got some tight ends coming off the board. We got Brock Bowers. We got Trey McBride coming off the board. We got our first quarterback coming off the board in the second round. See, that's the type of stuff that really grind my gears. You know what I mean? It really irks me, man. Cause it's like, why are we taking quarterbacks so early? I don't like taking quarterbacks early. And it's hard to not let the draft force your hand. Cause like say in the WQB league, guys might take Josh Allen in the first round. Number one overall pick might take Josh Allen. But I kind of understand it in a WQB league, But when we right here, and I just don't think that this is the appropriate time to be taking quarterbacks so early. So my next pick, I got Javonte Williams, man. Try to go ahead and seal up my running back room. I think the receivers are a little deeper than running backs. So me personally, I want to try to lock in my receivers early. First few rounds, I want to lock them guys in. So second round, that's where you confirm your build pretty much, right? Round one, what's your foundation? Round two tells the room what kind of team you are building. And by the time you get to round three, this is where the names start getting dangerous, right? Don't draft the logo. You got to draft the role. What are they role? So when you look at a guy like Brock Bowers, he's going to get a lot of looks because the receiving room doesn't have too many weapons in Las Vegas. Hold on, let me make a pick. So we got another quarterback coming off the board yet. Let's see. I'm gonna go get me a receiver, and I'm gonna get Devontae Adams. And and instead of talking when you mock drafting, not even mock drafting, when you're doing your draft, you want to be dialed in, man. Like honestly, you want to be putting guys on in your queue. You want to be looking ahead a couple of picks with if this guy goes, somebody take this guy, then I'm gonna take this guy, and stuff like that. So I got my receiving core, I got my running back core. Now this is where I try to steal me a quarterback. Now if the quarterback that I want isn't there right here in this round, then I continue building the rest of my team and just try to give me another quarterback on the back end. So let's see. The quarterback I want is gone, obviously. I like to try to steal Joe Burrow, fourth, fifth round. But so let's see. Let's see. We got Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. He went in the fourth. All right, that's cool. So let's go back over here and look at the quarterbacks. And so since I do want a quarterback, but there's no quarterback over here that I think I need to jump and get in the fifth round. So I'm going to go over here and go to all. I'm gonna watch the ADP. I'm monitoring players that I actually want and I feel like gonna do good. But let me make this pick. check out the tight ends. Tight ends kind of drying up, but I'm not too scared. I think the guy I want is still gonna be there. So let me get another receiver. And I'm gonna get a rookie some love. I know I drafted him a little early, but I think he'll be the #1 receiver in Tennessee. I think he will. I skipped over Luther Burden because I don't know which one of those guys out of him and Romo Doomsday is going to take the jump. Scary Terry, he's they call him Scary Terry for another reason, but for me it's scary because you never know what he's going to give you. DJ Moore's an aging receiver. Christian Watson in a wide receiver room where these guys just can't seem to get a #1 out of the bunch. Yeah, so right now I'm just looking, man, trying to see. If you look up here, you see the order, the round, how many picks you got before it's your turn. So, and you can see over here to the right as your team fills up with all the positions that you need to focus on. So, like right now, there's no need to getting because any receiver or running back you get right now is going to go on the bench. You know what I mean? So you want to go ahead and get all your starters in first. So let's see what we got. Who's up here? Quarterbacks. We got Daniels, Hurts, Dart, Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence, my favorite, Dak Prescott. And then you got Kyler Murray, Bowden, Brock Purdy, Patrick Mahomes, all the way at the bottom. That's crazy. If he come back this year and put up decent numbers, I believe he'll be a steal. I believe he will be a steal. So right now I'm eyeing Harold Fanning Jr. Maybe even a Kyle Pitts here. And you know what? I'm gonna go Kyle Pitts just because I believe they got a better quarterback right now than Cleveland. Cleveland don't know who their quarterback is. So yeah, we're gonna go there. All right, so as you can see over here, I got 2 receivers, 2 running backs. I got my tight end. I got my flex player. My flex is a rookie. I'll find somebody else that I can change him out with in a minute. I'm gonna go quarterback next. If there is still some quarterback value right here, and I think and it is, I wouldn't mind taking Dart Williams, Trevor Lawrence, or Dak Prescott. But if Dak is still here, the next time I pick in 9 picks, I'm taking Dak Prescott as my QB1. So at that point, my stack, I normally like to have a #1 receiver and a quarterback stack, but I take J-Dub and Dak Prescott for my little old stack. But Dak Prescott, JSN, Devontae Adams, Saquon Barkley, Javonte Williams, Kyle Pitts, Cardinal Tate. I think that is a good starting point for a team. So round 4, it's value check time, and that's what we did. That's exactly what we did. If a player slipped too far, don't overthink it. Just take the discount, right? Round 5, this is where you stop chasing perfection and start building balance, all right? You got to keep it balanced. Round 6, round 6 is the money round, right? These picks can separate a good manager from, misinformed manager. Can turn a bad roster good and a good roster bad, right? And round 7, this is where the ADP starts lying to people. Know your targets before the room start to panic and start just taking people. All right. So as you can see, they took my quarterback. They took him. This guy just took him 7 rounds, 7 round, second pick. Dak Prescott went in the 7th round. Jalen Hurts went in the 6th round. Yeah. It's all good. I still see a couple of the quarterbacks I wouldn't mind taking. I think my number one target on this list are these 5. Yeah. I could get Matt Stat and have him paired with Devontae Adams, but with these quarterbacks that are left, now I just got to make sure the rest of my team is strong. Because the thing is, if you don't get your quarterback when you feel like it's a good time to get them, and all your options end up slipping away, then it forces you to kind of go in a different direction. I feel like, right? So, what's this? Round 7, BTJ. I think that's a solid pick. I think that's a steal. He had a good rookie season last year. Not so good, but I believe that the talent is there, and he's capable of putting up some numbers. So I'm gonna ride on him. I'm gonna ride with him. Yeah, we're gonna ride with him. So let's see. I got my backup receiver. Let's try to find. Well, let's go back and look at the quarterbacks. See what's going on. We still got Trevor Lawrence up here. Kyler Murray could be a sneaky good quarterback for fantasy, especially with the weapons that he have in Minnesota. He got Justin Jefferson. He got Jordan Addison. And who else just went up there? Juwan Jennings. All right, so let me see if I can skip quarterback for another round and find me a running back. So, as you can see at the bottom of the ticker, right, it's talking about Jordan Mason may be the starting running back in Minnesota. But you see Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason is still on the board, right? And that's just because they got Kyler Murray going to Minnesota. So they don't know how to evaluate this team. But I know one thing for sure. They're going to make sure that he got a decent run game so he can at least have a chance at throwing the football. And they want to keep Kyler Murray, in good situations, man. All right, so let's look. We got BTJ and we got Ramondre Stevenson as our backup. As our backups. We're going to go back and look at the quarterbacks again. Kyler Murray, Bo Nix, Brock Purdy, Mahomes, Matt Stat. That's why I call him Matt Stat. He be having them stats, crazy stats. We got JG go off. Look at this right here. They got Malik Willis on top of Jared Goff, Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Sam Darnold, like Cam. Like these are all starting quarterbacks. I'm surprised nobody got from Fernando Mendoza, because these guys, you never know what they're gonna do, man. In a dynasty league that I'm in, somebody drafted Fernando Mendoza in the 1st round. Talk about it. They talk about it, man. All right, so while we wait, so we done went through round 8. Round 8. That's where I say you don't want to draft yesterday's production, right? You looking for a little upside, meaning like you ain't trying to get veterans at this point. You want some upside. You should already have your floor with your starting guys. So let's see the quarterbacks again. Who we have up here? See the quarterback I'm eyeing. I don't think anybody's gonna take him. So there's no need for me to go ahead and jump. Look at receivers. I'm gonna give Jaden Higgins. I'm going Jaden Higgins. I think he's gonna have a big jump this year. Do real good down there. Houston, they got a revamped offensive line. Defense still monstrous. And CJ Stroud just needs to be able to throw the football. So if he can throw the football, get the ball out, I think Jaden Higgins is going to be the number 2 target behind Nico Collins. And he could emerge as the top target because Nico, he's an injury-prone player in his last few years. So let's see. Let me go back, look at my QBs, man. So we got Knicks, Purdy, Mahomes, Stafford, and Malik Willis still on the board. We got Jared Goff, J-Lo, Baker Mayfield. See, these are some pretty decent quarterbacks. And if you build your team the right way, you can just plug in and play a quarterback. Your quarterback can get you just what you need your quarterback to. Just get his projections week in and week out. You know what I'm saying? And you still can win leagues. You don't need Josh Allen. You don't need Joe Burrow. You don't need Lamar Jackson in order to do all of those things and make a deep playoff run. So I like the quarterbacks that are still out. So I'm gonna keep digging and trying to get me some depth. So I'm gonna take Mark Andrews, skid Mark Andrews. I'm gonna take him just because Isaiah Likely is gone. They drafted a rookie tight end, and Mark Andrews, he has to be the man this year for Lamar Jackson. While these rookie receivers, Jacoby Lane and I forget the other guy name, while these guys get acclimated to the system and finally be able to produce. So I'm gonna go with old skid Mark Andrews, man, and as my backup tight end, which is a pretty good backup tight end. You know what I'm saying? If you ask me. All right. So we in round 10. I ain't talking about round 9. So in round 9, that's where upside start beating the name value, right? That's why we got Jaden Higgins. Give me a player who can grow into a bigger role. And that's exactly what we got. So round 10, you're going to be looking for just path to touches, targets and touchdowns, opportunity wins. And that's what Mark Andrews is, right? So as we head into round 11, this is where you draft stories before everybody else catches up. So we're going to be hunting some youngsters. See, on Sleeper, you can just got a whole rookie folder. So let's see. Let's scroll. Yeah, these guys really picking fast today, boy. Let me see if I can find. And this somebody we was talking about earlier, KC Concepcion, Denzel Boston. But the reports say that Denzel Boston is making more of a leap than KC Concepcion. So we're gonna take Denzel Boston. And this is the story. This is what I mean when I say you draft stories before everybody else catches up. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's gonna be looking at KC to be the guy, and he could be the guy. Him, KC Concepcion, and Denzel Boston could be the number 1 and number 2 receiver in Cleveland, which means Jerry Jeudy gets pushed out. All right. Here's a guy still on the board. And if this was the IDP league, Travis Hunter, he'll be a great pickup right here, even in a few earlier rounds. But we're not going to take him here. We're going to look up here at quarterbacks again. Look at this. Matt Stafford. This was the MVP last year, so I'm not going to even worry about quarterbacks. Let me look at my roster. Wide receiver type, running back. Let me get another running back. who we gonna get? Auto draft is a dangerous beast, but I'm not mad at Matt Stafford. I'm not mad at him. Maybe not from a QB1, but I think my QB1 is still out there. I mean, I can throw bake, I can throw shake and bake in anytime. I can gamble on J Lo. Like I say, when you getting quarterbacks this late in the draft, round 11, round 12, it's QB1s. You're gonna have to get a couple of them, and this is when potentially you are streaming quarterbacks, right? You're looking for the matchups. You're looking for who got the best matchup that week. So, and you don't want to always just follow the ADP, the ADP rankings that they have set on here, because that's going to get you into a lot of trouble. Somebody just got my guy shake and bake, which is cool. We got Sam Darnold up here, Super Bowl winning quarterback, still on the board. That lets me know that everybody know that Sam Darnold was not the reason those guys won their Super Bowl. He was just riding along. Because if anybody felt that way, like if they felt like Sam Darnold was the guy, he'll be gone already. It's round 13. All right, so let's see. Round 12, we were trying to late rounds, I think they not for safe bench players. Safe bench players don't win leagues. You want somebody that's gonna be able to pop in unexpectedly and give you some money, man, and get you some points, right? But I got to get my second quarterback, and I'm gonna go ahead and take C.J. Stroud. I'm gonna take C.J. Stroud, Shadur Sanders, Tua Tagovailoa, all these guys, Deshaun Watson. Nah, I'm gonna go ahead and go C.J. Stroud, and that's gonna see that was my last. That was my last bench player. So now I got to get kicker and defense. Normally, I probably would get a kicker and a defense earlier. I just wanted to show you guys that and look, Cam Little is still right there. Like if he comes back around to me, that's the kicker I'm getting. And he did. Just to show you guys, you don't have to always just reach for players and names. See, I was hoping the Rams defense would still be up here. I really want to see that Rams defense. I think those boys are gonna be tough. Let me put the Cowboys over there. I think the Cowboys will be better than a lot of these defenses. They be sleeping on my guys, man. But I got so many Cowboys already. I got Dak and I got J Dub. So let me diversify my portfolio. And when you think about defense, you want to get. I say you want to get defense. If you can, they have weaker opponents. That's gonna face weak opponents on a weekly basis. You know, the Chiefs AFC West. They pretty tough over there. The Ravens AFC North. That's a divisional, defensive division. The Bills AFC East. I feel like they'll have two easy teams that they get to beat up on all year. So that could be a good one. The Lions NFC North. I ain't gonna say it's a tough division, but it ain't no walkover. The Niners in the West, that's crazy. Falcons in the NFC South. They don't really have too much competition that they have to face. Same thing with the Colts. But if I had to take one of them, I wouldn't mind seeing what the Bengals do with Sexy Dexy over there, even though they've been one of the worst defenses in the league for the last couple of years. I still wouldn't mind seeing what they could do. And look, I'm using my last pick on defense. So, like, if you want a better defense, it won't hurt to go get your defense a couple rounds in advance. So for my defense, I'm gonna go with Buffalo. I'm gonna go with Buffalo. That's gonna be my one defense. All right, so let's finish going through it. So round 12, like we said, is not for safe bench players, especially depending on how you draft them. You know what I mean? So round 13, um, that's where you got to start thinking like, if one injury happened, you got to think about, do you got that guy that you can put in there, right? So one can't report away from fantasy relevance. That's the guy you're looking for. Round 14, this is the lottery ticket territory. If the player hits, then you look like a genius. If you don't, you look like you don't know what you're doing. So, sometimes you gotta take chances. In round 15, you don't want to waste late picks, trying not to be wrong. Use late picks trying to be early. And we our last pick was a defense. Like I said, you can pick them a little earlier. It don't. There's no rule for that. I wouldn't give anybody a rule for that. Because a lot of times you can stream defenses as well. Uh, Defenses, kickers, quarterbacks, if it calls, if the situation calls for it. But you don't want to go into the draft with the mindset of streaming something. You want to try to get these pieces while you can, while you drafting, but understand that if you can't, then you got to be able to switch up on the fly, right? You go into your draft with a plan. You got a list of players that you want. You have an idea about how you want the draft to go. But what a lot of managers do is when somebody jumps them and take their player, they whole plan go out the window. They panic and they just start doing this, doing that because they only thinking about certain names. You got to have different players. You got to have a list of players for every round. That's why you have to understand where players are coming off the board at. You know what I mean? Because the same player you can get in round 7, you don't want to take them in round 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, right? And that's why I say doing mock drafts matter. You get a lot of intel as to what's going on in the football world, what's going on in the fantasy world, man. So that's the draft. So let's just look over it real quick. So it look like this last round, everybody going to get kickers and defenses, right? That's what all these is defense and kickers. So if you look at this, you see the first round, everybody running back, wide receiver. Second round, with they started throwing tight ends in there, and then we got one quarterback in the second round. Third round, we still got running back, receivers, and we got our second quarterback, Lamar Jackson. That's third round. Then we get to the fourth round, and we still got running back, receiver, tight end, running backs and receivers. Then we got Joe Burrow coming off the board, right? So everything looks pretty normal. But if you take a closer look at it, you will see which round belongs to what position group, right? First round, I say, was a split. But second round, then you see you got more running backs coming off the board. That's because running backs get scarce. In round 4, you got a little bit more receivers coming off the board. That's because the receivers are more plentiful. And look at this here. We got Malik Neighbors all the way down there. So fourth round, we still got running backs and receivers coming off the board. We got one tight end. Then you go down to 5. And we still got a mixture. We got a mixture of everything. But we got 2 quarterbacks coming off the board. We got Drake May and Justin Herbert, which is kind of odd. Like, I wouldn't expect those 2 quarterbacks to be so high. especially above Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott, or even a Jackson Dart, for that matter. But yeah. So let's keep going. Then we get to the 6th round, and we got mostly receivers going, right? Another quarterback, couple of running backs. The running backs get scarce, and you're gonna start seeing them drop off a little bit more. Everybody want these receivers. They still trying to find upside on the receivers, right? Brandon Aubrey, is he the first kicker off the board? He is the first kicker off the board in the 10th round. Now that's what you call a reach, ladies and gentlemen. That is a reach. That's too high for a kicker. But if you want the best kicker in the game, hey, go ahead and do your thing. So we got running back, wide receiver, Patrick Mahomes finally come off the board, 10-8. Huge. I was eyeballing him, but I got Mark Andrews. Then we got Brock Purdy. So 1, 2, 3 quarterbacks in the 10th round. 3 pretty good quarterbacks, I might add. The baby goat at 10-8, that's wild work right there. So let's see what we got. We go down. Defense. Somebody jumped and got the Houston Texans as the first defense come off the board was the Houston Texans. And, I want to say they were like the number 1 defense last year in a lot of metrics. But 11th round, I think that's too early for defense, especially when you still got Rashad White, Jake Ferguson, Isaiah Likely, Jordan Mason, Denzel Boston, Zach Charbonnet is gonna be hurt. He's coming in later in the season. But you still have a lot of you got a lot of upside, you got a lot of value, you got a lot of names out here that can get you some points versus spending that pick on a defense. Okay, so let's see. I got Denzel Boston, 11-7. Somebody came right behind me and got him with the 11-12, the KC Concepcion, his running mate. This is the guy everyone is saying is going to be the number 1 receiver in Cleveland. But before they can establish any number 1 receivers in Cleveland, we have to establish the QB1. So let's keep going down. So the second defense, Denver Broncos, come off the board in the 12th round after Baker Mayfield and before Malik Willis. That is very odd as well. Because it looks like just a bunch of like nobody have a set plan or a set idea where they should or need to be taking these players. And that's the thing. A lot of people go into a draft like the Wild, just doing stuff, just picking players. I'm telling you, if you go in there with a clear-cut strategy, man, you will be so far ahead of everybody in your league. It's a guarantee. Because right now, everybody, they've been watching basketball, they watching baseball, they watching soccer. It ain't nothing wrong with none of that, man. But, football is money is year-round, man. And we year-round just so we can make sure we have all the information going into the season. That's it. All right, so keep going in this 12th round. Matthew Golden, Kenyon Sadiq, JG go off, Matt Stack, Jawan Johnson, Tyrone Tracy, Hunter Henry, Brent Strange, Oronde Gaston. It's a pretty solid round, man. And then you go down to round 13, you see a couple more defenses coming off the board. You still got quarterbacks, tight ends, running backs coming off the board. And this guy drafted Stephon Diggs, and Stephon Diggs might not even have a team. And like things like this is what I mean when I say being tuned in, being tapped into what's going on around the league really matters before you go draft a player that you don't know where he's going to be playing. You don't know what his situation is going to be. You just wasted a draft pick on that. And let's see. We got some more kickers coming off in the 14th round. Running backs. So we got 3 kickers in the 14th. I was the last one. The last kicker in the 14th round. And then you just got So the 14th round, you see, if you're looking at it, all you see is kickers and defensive, and you got one running back. So that guy that got that one running back, he had the right idea, but he probably already got his kicker earlier in the draft. So let's go up and see. So this guy, he drafted two defenses before he drafted Dylan Sampson, and he drafted a kicker in round 10. So had he not did these three crazy picks right here, he could have got some deeper running back depth up here in these rounds. Because right here where he drafted Brandon Aubrey, you got Tyler Algier, you got Aaron Jones, you got Kenny Gainwell, you got Rashad White, Jordan Mason, Chris Rodriguez, Zach Charbonnet. You have all of these running backs, Tyrone Tracy Jr., going off of the board, Woody Marks, Jonah Coleman, Keaton Mitchell, Tajay Spears, all coming off the board before Dylan Sampson. So that's all I'm saying. Be mindful of what you're picking and when you're picking and where you're picking it. All right. I mean, he still could have got an Isaiah Pacheco, Emmett Johnson. You know, Emmett Johnson might not be so good for him right now, but Isaiah Pacheco, he going up to Detroit to take over for David Montgomery. But anyway, let's get back to breaking down this draft, man. Round 14, kickers and defenses. And we got one running back, and that was a mistake because he realized that he didn't have any backup running backs after he drafted two defenses and a kicker. Right? But, if you playing with these guys, it's awesome. Last round is a whole lot of upside, and that's just that. That's just it. Let's see if they gave us a draft grade. No, they haven't given us a draft grade yet. I'm gonna go see if I can find the draft grade that these guys gave us. So just give me 1 second. And man, I hope you guys got some insight. I hope you guys got some insight into fantasy football, understanding how to draft or why, so I guess after seeing a live draft, you can go back to some of the episodes and kind of understand why I'm always stressing these points about certain teams and certain players. Because it all tie back in to fantasy and betting. Football is money. I mean, we love the game. Don't get me wrong. We do love the game. But, we want to get some money out the game too. Hopefully ain't nothing wrong with that. Hold on. I'm trying to find. Okay. Well, man. I really wanted this draft grade for you guys so we can go over it together. Normally after a draft, they give you they'll email you a draft grade just so you can kind of check it out. If you did good or you did bad, something that you can go and look into next time. Mumsy 7818 say thank you for the information. Hey man, my pleasure. My pleasure. And this is all the information. Like before we started doing the podcast, this is all the information I used to be looking for on a weekly basis. Because this what we do, right? We play fantasy football. We put in our tickets down at the booth, and so That's where it stems from. That's why I make sure I give out this information because this is information that I used to be looking for, but could never. I used to have to listen to multiple different shows just to get all the information that I wanted. Right. So I figured, hey man, maybe it's people out there that feel the same way as me, and let me cut through all the red tape for you and bring you everything in one place. So you ain't gotta go look at ESPN bets. You ain't gotta go look at fantasy football on the NFL network. You ain't gotta go look at this YouTube who giving your predictions based off of last year's numbers and try to put it together, man. I'm gonna go out there hunting for us. I'm gonna bring it back to you. I'm still waiting for this draft grade, man, but it's still haven't popped up. Yeah, it still haven't popped up. Mm. All right. Well, maybe I share it at a later date. Man. Yeah, we have to share it at a later date because they haven't sent it out to me yet. Let me try one more place. Try to refresh this and see if it's here. No, it's just not there. All right, well, I'm gonna grade it for you. I'm gonna grade it for us. So just give me a second. Let me grade this grade, man. Don't worry. I get help from my buddy. I got a buddy that helped me that break down these drafts for me. We call him Chat GPT. I'm gonna put it in there and I'm gonna see what Chat GPT think about the draft. So let's see what does Chat GPT. Okay, let's see. All right. So Chat GPT say I got a minus overall, and this is not the final say in your draft. Chat GPT can have outdated information as well, so you know, but it kind of gets you close enough to what you're looking for. All right. So what it say? Our wide receiver room gets an A+. This is loaded with upside. BTJ in the 7th round is excellent value, and you still have veteran production with Adams. And I agree. So we got two rookies down here. We got a second, third year guy, and Brian Thomas and Jaden Higgins. We got the OG in Devontae Adams, and we got the offensive player of the year in JSN. So I agree with that. I give it an A+ for the wide receiver room. Let's see, running back room B+, and I get it. Only got three of them, and that's probably why Saquon Barkley is the aging running back. Uh, Javante Williams as well. Ramondre Stevenson is the only young guy, and he still has to prove himself. So it says Saquon gives you a true running back run. If Javante rebounds, you got a very solid RB2. Stevenson is quality depth piece. And see, it's talking about if Javante rebounds. They're talking about from the season before he came to Dallas, when he was in Denver. Okay, so let's see. Tight end room, we get it A. We got an A. Kyle Pitts and skid Mark Andrews. All right, so it's like this is one of my favorite parts of the draft. If Pitts breaks out, you're set. If he doesn't, Andrews is still capable of tight end one production. Having both also gives you trade leverage later. Now, I don't know about the trade leverage because I don't think anybody will want to get any one of these guys because, people like flashy names and they like big numbers. They don't see the steady. 50, 60 yards that these guys gonna give you consistently. All right, so let's see, quarterback room. We got an A minus, which that kind of surprised me because we got our quarterback so late. So it's like waiting until round 12 and 13 for these two is tremendous value in one QB league. You didn't force quarterback early and still came away with two starters. And that's what I be trying to stress to you guys. Like, if the quarterback that you want isn't there, don't just grab a quarterback in that round just because you need a quarterback. Sometimes you have to let the draft come to you instead of trying to go to it. Now let's go. Biggest steal, BTJ in round 7. If he performs anywhere near expectations, that's a league winning pick. And I concur. Biggest gamble, Cornell Tatum in round 5. As I was drafting him, remember I said that, this is kind of a totally upside swing, but I got some more receivers behind him that I can swap him out with because I drafted him in the flex spot. So what it say? That's the one pick I question. Round 5 still has proven receivers on the board in most drafts. Tate is a high ceiling, but that's paying for projection. If he hits, you'll look like a genius. If not, that's the spot that could have been used on a safer producer. And I agree with that as well. But, sometimes you have to take gambles. And when you take a gamble, you got to make sure that you got one up your sleeve, you got something to fall back on. And if Cornell Tate doesn't do what I expect him to do, I got a few other receivers that can jump in and take his spot at any moment. So, strategy grade, we get a 9.5 out of 10. They say we did a good job of waiting on the quarterback, building wide receiver depth, get two quality tight ends, taking upside without reaching too often, not overreacting to positional runs. And that's what you got to do. You got to stay grounded. Just because you see everybody else taking running backs or you see everybody else starting to take quarterbacks early, that don't mean go ahead and jump into that foolishness. Just because you see people taking kickers in the first round don't mean, oh, well, let me go ahead and get a kicker too. No. Stick to your gun and only move when you want to be moved, right? So, what do you say? If this was my team, I'd be starting something like CJ. Yeah, I figured. But I don't know. Matthew Stafford threw 46 touchdowns last year, brother. Let's see, Saquon. Yeah, Flex, they say put BTJ in the flex instead of him. They want me to bench Skid Mark and all these guys down here bench, which I can get behind that. You know what I mean? Matthew Stafford was an auto pick. I would have grabbed someone else, but he was at the top of the queue. That's why they gave him to me, and that's fine as well. So it's a deep roster with multiple breakout candidates. Football is money grade A minus, 91 out of 100. The only thing keeping it from an A plus is the round 5 Cornell Tate selection. If I would have landed another proven producer there, or if Javonte Williams returned to form, this roster has the potential to finish as one of the better teams in a 12-team head-to-head league. The balance between upside and stability is much better than in our earlier mock draft. All right. We did one before we got on here and do one. Because we always doing mock drafts, That's how we stay ahead. That's how we stay ahead, brother and sisters. But hey, that's it. That is it. That's gonna close the show, man. I appreciate y'all for rocking with us, man. I hope y'all enjoyed the mock draft. Go and do some mock drafts on your own, right? And if you're looking for a fantasy league, a fantasy home, go to footballersmoney.com, join one of our fantasy leagues there. We have plenty spots still open. We got the pool party. That's the weekly pick'em against the spread that we have during the season. You guys can join that as well if you want to make some weekly cash. Footballersmoney.com is where everything lives, man. So go check us out and see what we've been up to, man. Thank y'all for tuning in. It's our first live stream, our first new look. And yeah, we appreciate it. We appreciate y'all, man. I'm your host. They call me Boss. This is Football is Money. And we are, baby. We are, baby.
I keep on telling you, you don't come home from nights out. I will be kicking.
That's a wrap. Thanks for listening to Football is Money. Find every episode and more at footballismoney.com.
I know we didn't do we didn't spin the wheel this week, and that's because we've been setting up the new show, trying to get the studio set up and everything, and trying to make sure that we able to bring you guys the content. We're gonna get the wheel situated. We will be spinning it on our next episode, all right, which will be next week for sure. If I don't hop back on before then and spin it, but next week for sure, next Wednesday. Same time, same place, like we always do. All right. But yeah, we got you. We still doing the giveaway. We are still doing the giveaway. But appreciate y'all, man. We out.